I made it to Treasure Island Beach. Fun slide over there. Beautiful beach here. But I'm gonna head back. Hi, this is Bria at the Sci-Fi and Sunshine podcast, out on a very hot afternoon walk, jog, interval training workout. And so I'm bringing you today's podcast from this walk, and currently walking over Treasure Island Bridge. I'll give you a quick spin around as I go up the bridge. Beautiful water view over there and over there. It's gorgeous out. There's a breeze, which is making it a little easier to walk. And my topic today is actually about health, because for years now, I have been meaning to have one designated video talking about when I was sick for the majority of 2022. And it's just taken me this long to do it. I've had little brief videos where I've kind of skimmed over the surface, but I also don't want to make this too long. So I'm gonna try and do a condensed version of what happened to me when I had long haul COVID. And so here I go. This is also going to be something that over the years I've had people ask, tell me, how did you get healed? And I'm hopeful that this video can be something that I can share with people as well. I'm gonna switch hands here. At the top of the bridge, just enjoying this beautiful afternoon in Treasure Island. So, I'm just gonna start from the beginning. It might be a little non-linear, but I'm gonna do my best to just line everything up how it happened. So, in December of 2020, my whole family was gathered for Christmas at my mom and dad's house in Georgia, and one by one, everybody was getting COVID. And I was the last family member. I did the test on January 6th of 2021. It was a very mild case. I mostly felt just fatigued, where I was sleeping all day for about 3 days and then gone. Like, I had a little bit of diarrhea. Oh, I should mention, none of the things in this video are medical advice. I am not a medical professional. Please don't take this as such. This is just my experience walking through what I walked through. So please don't take any of this as medical advice. And I might get a little bit descriptive, but yeah, if you don't want to hear about this, it's okay if you miss this podcast, but I'll go on. So healed, and I knew I had it because we had a candle and we would smell it and take turns figuring out who lost their smell. I lost my sense of smell, but not my sense of taste, and tested a couple days later, tested positive. And a few months later, probably in March of 2021, I started donating plasma because they were paying people pretty well who had had COVID and healed from it, and they were potentially using that to help heal people. So I was donating plasma for about a month or so, and this is not necessarily linked, but I'll add in the link here. In April of 2021, I was diagnosed with shingles. Now, shingles, I thought, was something you only get when you're like 70 or 80 years old. Apparently not. Apparently any age person who has had chickenpox can get shingles, because the chickenpox virus stays in your body. Did you know that? I did not know that until I got diagnosed with shingles. And I broke out in these, it looked like boils going down my neck and down my shoulder over here. And so I had gone to the urgent care thinking, why am I breaking out in boils? And the guy said, oh, you've got shingles. And they couldn't tell me why, but I learned later. So this is the non-linear part. When I was at a couple different clinics, including the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida, I learned from their long-haul specialty clinic doctor, long-haul COVID specialist, that for those who had COVID and the virus stays like and I might be getting some of these details wrong, again, not medical advice, just trying to remember what the doctor told me at the time. The spike protein, I believe, for some people stays in their body and it triggers other viruses. So that is what they think happened to me. The spike protein was still in me, or if I'm saying the wrong medical info, some remnant of the COVID virus was still in me, causing this triggering of the shingles virus to activate. And I dealt with that for several months, went through physical therapy because I couldn't raise my arm. It was really, it attacks, so where the bumps were, the virus attacks the nerves. So that was quite a rehabilitation from that. And then fast forward to February 2022, I turned 40, did a 10K race on my 40th birthday in February, and 15 days later, I got knocked down by an upper respiratory infection that's landed me in the hospital. I was sick for about 6 weeks. Never had I had bronchitis before, had never had to have steroids before. All kinds of firsts. Because I've generally been quite healthy most of my life. I've gotten the flu over the years occasionally. I've gotten colds like anybody. But, so, you know, I'm not like Bruce Willis's character in Unbreakable or anything. But if I get sick, I tend to recover pretty quickly. So, didn't recover for quite a while. And it just took me down. And by the time I had gotten to where I was recovering, I still was not 100%, but I was, you know, about 6 weeks out. I was starting to get on the mend. And then I caught another upper respiratory virus in March of 2022, both of which were negative for COVID. It doesn't mean they weren't, because sometimes you get a false negative. But most of the doctors and nurses that were helping me through this whole process were telling, there was some that were just like, yeah, this just happens. And there were others that were saying, this is long haul COVID. And I kept saying, but I didn't have COVID. It's been over a year. And I had a very mild case, recovered. How is that possible? So, all right, back to the other side of the drawbridge. Okay, I made it to the beach, back to the drawbridge. Lost my train of thought briefly, but I was talking about some of the nurses telling me that I may have long haul COVID, and I didn't understand how that could be. I'll adjust my camera for a sec. But turns out they were right. And I was diagnosed in September of 2022, many months after they told me this. Whew, sorry. It is so hot. I kind of picked the worst time of day to do walk jog to the beach with no cloud cover. And I'm going up a bridge, so catching my breath. Speaking of which, just to get into it again, when I got that second upper respiratory infection, had to be put back on steroids. And that's when, amongst other medications, and that is when things started getting crazy. So I started having insomnia, and this lasted for three straight months of insomnia, barely being able to sleep. And that was one of the hardest symptoms that I dealt with. But other symptoms included brain fog, confusion, high anxiety and depression, which I've never dealt with my whole life. That was quite an experience. I'd lost the sensation in my stomach of telling when I was hungry or full. So I was at a stage in my life where I had about 20 extra pounds on me, but I ended up losing about 35 and got quite skeletal, and it was a little scary. But partially because I couldn't tell when I was hungry, I couldn't tell when I was full, I didn't want to eat. I had very low tolerance to heat and cold. My emotions were all over the place, but I couldn't really, my range of emotion, expressive wise, I couldn't really express emotions. Even when I wanted to cry, I literally couldn't cry for 8 months during that time. And I'm a crier. If you know me, I cry at movies. I cry when people die. Hulk Hogan passed away today. I cried. So that was a very weird thing too. I couldn't really laugh even when I thought things were funny. Even harmless TV shows made me anxious. And I couldn't really, I had gone from doing this 10K on my 40th birthday to just about a month later, I could barely walk for 20 minutes. So weakness, fatigue, all that. And I was tested for tons of stuff because my doctor wanted to just rule everything out that she could without being invasive. So ultrasound of the whole body, basically. I had an MRI of my brain. I'm gonna switch hands again because I'm so hot, my arms are starting to get tired. I had all sorts of blood work testing for the ANAs. Oh my gosh, what is that test for? I'm having a blank. Autoimmune. Everything came back normal. Not a hint of an autoimmune. All the blood work was pretty much normal, except some of the things that were off could be connected to my sleeplessness. My insomnia caused some other problems. For example, I got horrendous dandruff during that time. My poor hairstylist. And that was one of the symptoms, actually, symptom of a symptom. Thankfully, got that under control once I was sleeping again. But I wanted to share all that to also share, I had so many people, sorry, I'm on a really loud road. I'm gonna pause for a second. Okay, I'm off the busy road. I had so many people praying for me, my family, friends, people would come over and just pray over me, friends from church. I went in to a meeting with the elders of my church, which is in accordance with James chapter 5. And all the elders of my church, prayed over me, prayed healing over me if it was God's will. And it wasn't instant, I will say that. It was not, and I walked out and I was healed. That's not how God chose to heal me. And I do recognize God doesn't choose to heal everyone. I fully acknowledge that. But he did choose to heal me just a few months later. So another friend of mine was also going through long haul COVID, and she was a little bit ahead of me. She was on the road to healing. The Lord had revealed to her a clinic down in Sarasota called Latitude that was treating long haul COVID. And I don't know if you recall, at the time, there was so much negative about how people were choosing their treatments. And I am not going to do any of that.